welcome to this SwiftUI video. In this video, we're going to be talking all about the tab view, then with multiple navigation stacks. So in other words, each tab item is going to have its own navigation stack, and they are then going to use the navigation destination with hashable items and so on. Rather than me just explain it, let's just demonstrate it and let's just jump straight in. So we're going to call this tabs example instead. It sounds better, doesn't it? And let's just start this, and we're going to absolutely rock it through this first bit because you would have seen it in a whole bunch of videos. And okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is then create our tab view. And the first tab view that we're going to create is going to be, using the JSON placeholder, is the users list. So we're going to say users list view. And then the next one that we're going to have is the albums list view. So albums list view. And the next one is then going to be posts list view, and that's going to be there. And then an end is going to be then the comments list view as well. So let's literally copy and paste this here and say user list view, and inside of here we'll say navigation stack is here, and we'll say list is then here, and there's going to be lots of copy paste in this, all right, so don't blame me. And this is then going to be items, and this is then going to be user, and it's going to start with nothing, and we're going to say user, and it's going to be identifiable, hashable, and also then codable, and it's going to have an ID of int, have a username of string, and have name of string. That's the first one done, and that's going to be then items, and this is going to be item, and inside of here we're going to say navigation link for value, and that's going to be item here, and we are going to say then user, and it's going to say user and username. All right, that's going to be there. The next one we are pretty much going to copy and paste. It's going to be then albums here, and this is then going to say album, and we're going to copy and paste the album, and going to copy and paste that as well because I always have a problem doing the albums. And albums, let's have a look at what they've got. They've got user ID title, so user ID and title, and let's just copy that again and say user ID is here, and we copy this, happy days, and what's the matter with you? What have you been a nightmare for? Oh, yeah, cool. Also, we want title here. There we go. So now we have albums, and now we just want the posts, and we'll nearly be done in a second. So post list view, and if you've watched enough of my videos already, you should be knowing what the posts have. Let's just copy. This is the easiest one to copy here, and say post here. And it has a title, body, and it has a user ID of int. And we come down, we have posts here, so we want post there. And we want title, and we want post, which is going to be a massive. And now finally we want comments, all right? Comments, and this is going to be comments. Let's just have a quick look at what they got on comments. Is probably post ID, so this one's going to be the best one for comments, and we'll say comments, and comment has a name, whoops, email, body, and post ID, name, body. Yeah, that's it. So there's a comment there, and we come to then the name, comment there, happy days. So we are now done. We can create another file and this can just be called views. We'll come back to the contents and we will just cut and paste all of these into our views file and change this to SwiftUI instead. And let's just create another file called models, and take all of these out, put them in there instead there. Happy days. Okay, so now I've got these. So now time to make the tab views. Okay, tab item, and whoops, and in here we just need a label. All right, and here we're going to say users and system image, and we're going to say person, and we are literally going to copy and paste all of these because I don't care about the system image. We can say, I think this is message actually. That one's there, and post is then message fill maybe, or message 3. I don't know. I'm just going to say comments. No, let's say circle. There, nice and easy. All right, I don't care. And we can say person 3 for this one. None of them go with each other. All right. So now we have all of the different views, and they obviously don't, inside of them, they don't have any content as of yet. So let's just come down to the task and let's start generating this code. And as I said, we are going to be literally copy and pasting lots of stuff because that's not part of the video. The part of the video is about how to use TabView with destinations, and you want then URL session shared data task publisher for URL map $0 data here, and then we want decode, and we want the user self JSON, JSON decoder receive on run loop main, and then finally we want sync completion we are going to ignore, and then finally we're going to say items and self.items is equal to items, and then we're going to say store in cancellables here, and we are going to import combine, and we are going to then say state var cancellables here, and set is any cancelable, and initiate this and come down here, and like I said, it's going to be lots of copy paste. All right, lots of copy paste because we're not here to learn how to do generics or anything like that. We're just here to try and get the tab views up and running as quick as possible and do it as easy as possible. So post here and copy and paste this one too, and excuse me for the bad code. All right, but sometimes it's all about it's more about learning rather than doing. Okay, and okay, and come to there, and then the final one in the task in here in albums. Whoops, and come down here and come to album. We need cancellables here as well. Whoops, cancellables there as well. Happy days. Now we come back to the content view, and when we look at this, we should start seeing some stuff here that's got users, and this should say albums, this should say posts, and this should say comments. Happy days. So now we've got albums here, posts here, comments here. All right, we're rocking and rolling now, if you want to say it like that. So I mess around for a minute doing navigation titles in the wrong place. So I'm just going to speed everything up. We're just going to go straight to where the navigation titles are in the correct place. Let's go. Okay, let's have a look. We should have now users, albums, posts, comments. So the next task to do is click on a user and actually go somewhere in the users. Okay, but we are now inside of our user list view. So we now need our user. So the next task now is just to quickly create all of the detail views for the users, albums, comments, and posts. I'm just going to quickly speed this up just to show you that I'm going to create exactly the same view, copy and paste it, change the text a little bit. I'm going to add any parameters for the time being. However, we will add them later. So copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, and speed up, and we were done. And so on. So now we have our detail. So our users list view. This is the most important thing here, is that we want to register our navigation destination here within inside of our navigation stack, within inside of our user list view, which is inside of our tab view. Okay, so we've got a user here and self and user, and we don't need it, but it's going to be user detail view, right? And obviously you would add, you would pass through your user if you wanted to do that, which you should do. But so now in here we've got post detail view, and we have to change this for posts. And let's just copy it again and come to the next one. And this one is going to be comments instead. And there. Let's copy it again. We don't need to copy it again, but album instead, album, and we're done. Right, let's come back to our content view. And so now we should be able to flick between. And you can see we go to user detail here, and we go to albums, and we're on the album detail, right? When we go back to the users, we can go to here, and you can see we're on user detail, come back to albums. We still kept our state, all right? So now the albums, when we look inside of here, what does an album have? Album has a user ID, all right? So let's come into albums list view, all right? And inside of our album detail, let's now say here, just for the sake of it, we'll say album here, and we'll pass an album into it, pass an album into it, and let's just quickly press that button there, and let's change it to album and go from there. All right, this is the key point to understand. When we're in the album detail, we now have an album, and when we create a navigation link for value, we now need a user, all right, to be able to present a user detail view, this user detail view, but we don't have the user inside of here, right? So we're going to have to load it. So what we can do here is we can turn around and say a user self here, right? A user view here, because, sorry, for value, we can now turn around with inside of this, and what we need to have is another, where was our models? We're going to have another user view, right? And we're going to call this a user DTO. And we're going to remove this username and so on from here, because we need to use this for our albums view, all right? And albums detail view, because we're going to come in here and we are going to create a user DTO from ID, and we're going to say album, and then it's going to have the user ID, right? And this navigation link is going to have then a label, and it's going to say user, and then say album, user ID, and then system image, and it's going to say person, all right? When we come back to our content view, we should now have our albums, and we come to it, we have our button here, right? We have to register this navigation destination within inside of our albums list view, within inside of our navigation stack, okay? And this is going to be a user DTO. And from there, we're going to have a DTO, right? But this obviously is going to need to be a user detail view. And inside of the detail view, this is why we're going to give it an ID instead, an int ID. And we're going to say the ID from here, okay? And we come back to our content view, album detail view, and we need to have an ID here, and we can turn around and say the ID instead. And when we come back and run this application, where's the error still? Missing arguments. That's perfectly fine. And we're here. Let's come back to the content view, see this work again. And this pattern you can use for the rest of them, all right? So we come to the album, come to the user ID, and boom, we go to the user detail view. We come back to here, and boom, we go to the user detail view. We are using the user detail view in different tab views within inside of different navigation stacks, all right? But the one album view is passing an ID on. This is the whole point of using DTOs, data transfer objects, right? Because they don't know about the object, and we don't want the album to know about a user object. We just want to know about the user ID because we're not there in charge of loading it, right? And so in this user detail view, we're going to come and we are literally going to copy paste this task here with inside of our text, right? And it's going to then load the users. Whoops! It's going to load the users here, and then we are going to. Oh dear, just nightmare. And we're going to load the ID instead, right? But this is now rather than now an array. We're just loading it for a user instead. We don't have any cancellables, so we're going to copy and paste this up here, put it in here instead, and we are then going to come here and say var user, and it can be an empty user, and say if let user equal user else. It's going to come down here and do this instead, and put it here, and we can say text and username instead. And now we can say here user and copy paste, put that in there, and go from there. Quick cleanup and do a bit of the old indent again. Come back to the content view, and the content view now, when we come to user Brett, we see it goes to Brett, all right, because we said the username, and we get to here, we get everything. And when we come to the albums, we click on the user, we get Brett, all right? And we come to another album, for example, here in user 2, we get the other name here. So now we can see that within inside of our list view, we don't know about the users to send it further to the actual individual views itself. However, you want some form of way of saving this one request. You don't want to be doing these requests all the time. That's where the likes of a view model, a service, or a repository, or a store, or whatever would come helpful now to see whether or not we have actually already saved this user before, and then you don't have to download it once again. So this pattern you can do now with all of the other views, all right? And if, for example, like a user, we now know that a user view, so if we do a list view here instead, right, and we can then say a section, and then say information and stuff like that, and put this down here. Let's just have a quick look at this. Come to user, and we see the information. And now we come to the user detail view. We can come to say the section. We can say now posts, all right? But now we want to have user posts instead. So we can come to our content views, and we can say posts and post list view. And we, like I said before, we're going to do lots of copy pasting here. User posts here, and we're going to say user ID is then int here, and then we're going to do this there. Oh, sorry, we're going to do posts, and then we're going to say user ID is equal to user ID here. Right, and these are going to be posts only for the user ID now. So when we come over to our user list view, user detail view, we can say user posts here, and we can say user ID. And when we come back to our content view, and we come to a user, we can now see we've got the posts, but we are a bit wrong because of the way that it's been done inside of inside of this. So we're going to say, if I remember rightly, we just have to say instead, this is what. Where am I going? I'm getting lost now. User post. We want posts. Okay, what did we just do? We just did. I'm a bit lost now. We've got the user detail view and user post list. We don't want a navigation stack anymore. We don't want a list anymore. So this is the stuff that we want to take out. All right. This is the stuff we want to take out. We don't need the navigation post detail because we know we don't know that's there actually. But let's remove this. Come down. Whoops. Come down to there. Here, and we are going to say a lazy V stack instead, and we're going to take away the items, and then from here we're going to say for each items, and say item in, and go to navigation link here, and we can get rid of that. And I think this fixes it. I think this fixes it. Okay, there we go. So the whole point there is that we had a scroll view within the scroll view. At least I don't want to go too far in detail to it, and now we have the posts, right? So if we want to go from here to the posts, so we have the user detail, the detail view, user post list view, and so on. We now know that inside of our, sorry, I'm going to go back again. We started from users. We started from users, and so here we need to say, okay, let's register now a post detail view, all right, because that's what it was. It was a post, and we're just going to say a post here, and the post detail view doesn't have any information yet. So when we come here now, we should be able to come here and then go to the post detail view. You see, so we're now, but when we come to the posts, we're still using the same post view, all right. But when we come to the albums, we come to the user, and we've got Brett. We come to the posts, but that was the albums one now. So let's come back to here. Let's copy and paste this, and so let's come back to here and go to the albums, and now register a navigation detail here. Come back to here. We can see albums now, comes to the album, comes to the user, comes to the post. We can still go inside still, right? So we're the only logic that we're doing navigation destination logic here. And this could be a little bit more repeated, okay? So this is something I want you to understand, is that all of these navigation stacks inside of here are their own entity with regards to this tab view. And you should think of them as something different. They are all independent entities of one another, and how they navigate inside of their own. Their navigation stack is responsible for all of their children, all right, and responsible for their navigation as well. So what way you want to do it is your choice, but I just thought I would show you a quick example of how to do this, and this is a quick example, all right. You should put a lot more thought into this than just quickly going off, and it's okay prototyping these things, but remember, spend at least 4 times the amount of time tidying this code up and thinking about this code, and that would be then, this is the 20%, and then the 80% is actually the thinking, okay. With that said, I hope you've got something out of this one video. I hope you learned something from this one video. And yeah, I just thought I'd do a quick demonstration of how you could do this. Obviously, it's very quick. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and do all of the other social media things that you can do out there. And if you do have any questions, feedback, or concerns, then as always, let's start a conversation in the comment section down below. Other than that, just check out any of the other videos that I've done. They might answer some of your other questions if you do have those questions. Otherwise, if you've got any ideas for any other videos that you want me to do, please be a little bit detailed about what you want to see in the video, what problems you're trying to solve. And I read the comments on a daily basis. And I've got nothing against just spontaneously making a video and posting it for you. With that said, thank you very much for watching. My name is David Thorne, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao, and goodbye.